What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be looking at the differences between the get method, the set range, and the set filter. So if you're new to this channel, kindly subscribe, like, share this video. I offer business central development tutorial. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Another amazing week, right? So this is another amazing video. I chose this specific video because these are specific actions that we take in a day-to-day development. So if you don't work with a get method, a set range, a set filter, I wonder what you're actually doing with the data in Business Central. So I do not want to waste much time, as I want this video to be as short as possible, and I want to be very descriptive and explanative, right? So if you have any video requests, just put a comment below, and then I'm going to look at your comments and then work on the specific video, right? So where we left off, right? So remember the last video. If you have not watched my last video, please go check my channel. I uploaded a video on field group, right? So which is very fantastic, right? You need to know some basic fundamentals on how to create a table properly, how to create a page properly, and you just don't use whatever you meet by default. You need to question yourself on what does this specific things do, and how useful it is in your development, right? All right, so let me go into today's video. So today we're not going to be doing any publishing, right? But I'm just going to take my time to explain the concepts of get, right, set range, and set filter. So these three aspects are being used in different scenarios, that if you actually understand how to use this, right? So let's start with get. So when do we use get method in Business Central, right? Let's say for example, this table A we are currently working with, we want to be able to retrieve a specific record, right? Remember, I'm using the keyword specific. I want to be able to retrieve a specific data, so I'm going to be using a get, right? So but before I go into the explanation, right, the get method, the set range, and the set filter, they all do the same fundamental thing. What I mean is that we use them to retrieve data from Business Central, right? So just hold on, let me give a pause, right? So I can use the get method, the set range, the set filter to actually retrieve data from my data record, right? So when I'm working with a get method, it means that I say probably a table A dot get, right? So I also want to be realistic with this, so let me just write a play trigger here on validate, so I can basically use that. So let's say we are working with a record called table A, right, which is this record equals table A, excuse me, right? So I want to be able to retrieve data from table A, so I think we should also talk about checking emptiness of a table. So we have what we called is empty, right? So this works hand in hand, so I can actually test if a table is not empty, if it's empty or not, and I can actually retrieve data based on if it is not empty, right? So let's get into so I want to retrieve data from this record, right? But I'm now saying with this record, which is table A dot get. So if I over the get, I should be able to see a short description, get a record based on the value stored in the primary key, right? So that means this is focused primarily on the primary keys. So what are my primary key here? The ID. So that means I can only retrieve a data by its primary key, right? So When I do this, this should return either a true, right? Let's see, what does it return? So it returns boolean true or false. So I can put a condition saying if table a dot get that primary key, right? So in this case, this primary key now doesn't have any value because yeah, so this should be a repetitive kind of function, but at least it will do what we want. So I'm saying whatever id is currently on this field, right? If this table can retrieve it, can get it, then that means this table already has a record of this particular record, right? So I can go ahead and say message table a record, right? Then I can pass a placeholder of 1 so that I can say table a dot and let's say id, right? So I want to just display the primary key back. So now see the limitation. The limitation here is that I can only retrieve data based on the primary key. So there are scenarios whereby I also want to retrieve data based on some other fields in the table, right? So probably I want to filter by the name. So if I do something like name, I won't be able to get any result because name is not part of the primary key, right? So I hope this will be able to explain the concept of get. I can only retrieve a data based on the primary key, right? And I can always pass the primary key so I think that is that for the get method. So if I want to use a set range, so set range, like it has said, is like I can actually put a delimiter of data that I need. Like I can set a range of data that I need. So when I say table a dot set range, so this means that it asks me a question first: what field do I want to use as my set range, as my set filter, right? So I can do the same thing that this table does and retrieve data by its primary key, right? So what's the primary key? The primary key is id. So I can say yes, I want to set a filter, but I want to set a range from the id field that is between 1,000 and 5,000, right? So you can see we currently have an error. Why do we have this error? This is because I have to pass the right data type that is for the id to the set filters, right? So these are the range of data I need, but they are not of the same data type. So when I pass this as a string, then this should work fine, right? So what I'm saying right here is I want to set my range on my id. I want to set a filter on my id, but it needs to be between 1,000 and 5,000. I could also do the same thing by saying I only want to retrieve any id that is 1,000, right? Which also works very fine. Great. Okay, the other thing I can do with set range that makes it more different from the get method is that I can also retrieve data that are not primary key. That is, I can retrieve a name, right, from the database. This would work fine, right? But in order for me to make it more efficient, I can also make sure that my current search query is currently facing that field. And how do I do that? I can say the table a dot set current key. So me setting a current key is that temporarily I am just representing the name as a primary key. Just look at it that way. So instead of it searching based on the initial primary key, I'm telling it that when you want to do your search now, make sure your search is focused on the name field so that you can retrieve the data faster for me, right? So I can go ahead and say name, right? So me doing this means that whatever I search, whatever field I search, I can also put that focus on the field before searching for it, right? So I hope we are able to get the differences between the search range. I can get based on the primary key, which works fine, and I can also get based on other fields. I can also do more than that. I can also set between a range of character to a certain range, right? So this brings me to the last one, which is the set filter. So I have my table dot set filter. So as you can already tell, this will just be an advanced of these two, right? This means that I should be able to do the same thing a set range can do, but I should be able to do more, right? You can see how the increment advances has been. The get could only get a primary key, which is very static. I can't be flexible with whatever condition I want to put in place. I have to follow this rigid, right? So if my data retrieving has to do with some certain condition or some certain terms, I can't do that with the get. Okay, the set range can also enhance that ability for me to, get flexible with the data I want to retrieve, right? But it can't still give me that benefit, right? So the set filter, as you can already guess, means that I can also do the same thing I can do with the set range. Let's say, for instance, I want to retrieve by the name, but here I can now put a condition. So I can put a condition, and then I can also I can also pass in a placeholder. So I think I should start by the basic. So I can also say where name equals 1,000, right? This works fine, which is almost the same thing the first one does. So why do I want to choose a set filter for that? So I should either choose a set filter for something advanced. So I want to say where the name is 100, then I can put a dot between 100 to 1,000 and 2,000, right? So I can do this complexity there. So it's more like me doing between 1,000 here and 2,000, right? So it's still the same thing here, but I can still further. I can say when name is greater than 100 to 2,000, right? This is another condition. Or I can put a or, right? A pipe, or let's say 1,000 is lesser than 2,000. Do you understand? So I can put multiple condition. I can now say these two or, and you get, I can put some other conditions than 1,000 equals, you get just a random sheet. I can pass in different condition to get out my results. So in order for me to keep passing this like this, I can use what we call a placeholder. Instead of me saying it's greater than 1,000, I can say it's greater than %1, which is the first placeholder, and say it's greater than 1 and lesser than placeholder 2, right? Or I could say it is greater than %1 and it is not equals to %2. So I can be flexible with my condition at this point, right? So I can now pass a placeholder. What is my first placeholder? Maybe my first specimen is 1,000, or perhaps a variable that I'm going to get from a user, which I can pass, and the second one is 3,000. Do you understand? So all of this condition works hand in hand. So at the end of the day, I can choose either one of these two I'm using. I can either say maybe I want, if my table A, dot find first if I want to just retrieve the first data, or if it find last, or if it's a set of data I'm expecting as a return, or perhaps I'm not sure how many data I'm going to get. I can use the find set, or moreover I can say dot count to get the value is greater than 1. So I know we have retrieved more than one data. Then I can do whatever condition I want to put in place. I hope I've been able to explain what the get, the set range, and the set filter does in AL development. So if you like this video, you can drop a comment, like, share, and also recommend me for your friends. The link to the LinkedIn, to my LinkedIn will be attached below in the video description, and a way to get in touch with me can also be found there. I also offer one-on-one training, and you can chat me up on LinkedIn. Right, my name on LinkedIn is Oyebo Ali Aziz Adekunle, right, and you can also find that in the description below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.